Okay, so today's video we are going to discuss the Illuminati. We are going to discuss the real Illuminati, their relation to Freemasonry, their relation to the Rosicrucians. Does the Illuminati still exist? Do they control the world? Does the Illuminati control Hollywood? Do they control music? Do they control government? We will discuss all of that. We'll even discuss, are they shape-shifting lizard people? We will get into all of that. But first, we shall start from the beginning, because every beginning has an end. And we will go back to the beginning of the Illuminati now. Johann Adam Weishaupt, gentleman who was trained, educated by the Jesuits. He was somebody who he learned from them. He became a canon lawyer. If you don't know what a canon lawyer, he was a canon professor. If you don't know what that is, basically he was somebody that supersaw the laws of the church. Very big job, only would have been held by Jesuits. However, Pope Clement at the time, a couple of years prior to Weishaupt being installed into that, professorship, Pope Clement and the Jesuits had a little bit of a misunderstanding of falling out. Thus, Weishaupt got into that position first non-Jesuit. He was somebody who studied philosophy. He was somebody who, he understood the ways that things were going on then. It was not a beautiful time period like today. You really have to think back. We're talking around the Age of Enlightenment. The reason why it's called the Age of Enlightenment is when people started to rebel against it. You have to understand people did not have the same liberties as they do today. It was complete. The monarchy was very, very corrupt, oppressive. The Catholic Church was very corrupt and oppressive. Any viewpoint that was contrary to theirs, they basically squashed. If, anything heresy, sentenced by death. Homosexuality, sentenced by death. I mean, we're talking the whole 9 yards. I mean, you could probably sneeze on a noble and get sentenced to death. So a lot of these guys, they were for free thinking. They were for, the rights of man. They were for separation of church and state. Basically, the entire system that you know today, if you're lucky enough to live in the Western world or aspire to live in a free world, you have to give thanks to these gentlemen such as Adam Weishaupt and the Illuminati that so many people vilify for really no reason. Complete contradiction to what the order he started. I mean, we're talking complete contradiction. It's a real travesty to his legacy, the vileness that people create. Unfortunately, it's ignorance, and we have not extinguished ignorance yet. So, long story. Adam Weishaupt, 1776, decides he's going to create an order a lot like Freemasonry. I mean, he knew about Freemasonry. He understood Freemasonry. He wanted to create an order, basically anti-clerical, enlightened people, have philosophers, have scientists, have the proper people running things. So 1776 comes along. Him and a few other gentlemen decide to establish the order. They call it the Illuminati. If you're a smart person, you'll understand May 1st, 1776. And then the Declaration of Independence was signed July 4th, 1776. We're talking just, a couple months apart. I'll say this much. The Illuminati did not have anything to do with the Declaration of Independence. Doesn't mean there was other organizations and other people that were friendly towards the United States and the establishment, but it was not the Illuminati. There was a lot of people during the Age of Enlightenment that were free thinkers. They were basically infants learning to walk. The easiest way to put it. So we get there, 1776. Adam Weishaupt and his fellow initiates. They need to expand the organization. They need to grow. You can't do much when it's just like 5 of you. So what they do, 1777 comes along, they join Freemasonry. They're going to find like-minded gentlemen such as them. They're going to find the smartest people in the world at that time were Freemasons. The greatest thinkers, the highest educated, the nobility, the whole 9 yards. They were all part of Freemasonry at the time. So he joins Freemasonry with the objective of recruiting like-minded people. He basically talks to the officers of the lodge. He talks to the nobles. He to the lawyers. He recruits the right people. The only problem is they recruited a lot of people. And one thing about Adam Weishaupt, he did not want the Rosicrucians finding out. For good reason. He saw the Rosicrucians as somebody, an organization that would be a threat to him. And yes, he was right about that. So the Illuminati, they expand to quite a bit. I mean, we're talking from just a few men prior to them being dissolved, by the monarch's decree in 1785. They were quoted to having up to maybe even having 2,500 members. So what happened was, once you recruit enough people, you're going to recruit somebody you don't want to. And Adam Weishaupt did not want to recruit any Rosicrucians. Long story short, the Illuminati recruited a Rosicrucian. So what happened with that was the Rosicrucian went, after being initiated into the Illuminati, gave all the secrets over to the Rosicrucians. Now, the Rosicrucians, they're an organization. These guys are very subservient to the system. Let's think back. The most famous Rosicrucian, Francis Bacon, the gentleman who may or may not have been William Shakespeare. I mean, look at his relation to King James and, the monarchy at the whole time and everything. I mean, if we are talking, the Rosicrucians are very much in bed. They're subservient to the system. So the Rosicrucians find out about the Illuminati, and basically they want to take the Illuminati down. And once, they conspire with the monarchy, with the Catholic Church, with the papacy, and the Illuminati has quite a few enemies. Adam Weishaupt, I mean, there was infighting within the Illuminati, how to even run the organization. I know offhand the number 2 of the Illuminati, who was arguably somebody who was even wiser than Adam Weishaupt, left the organization basically because they got into a petty quarrel, from what I understand about the whole thing. So from there, things were going down. So basically, the Rosicrucians basically made it their mission to have the Illuminati dissolved. Long story short, the Illuminati was dissolved. 1785 comes along. The monarch who was in charge at the time, he had the Illuminati dissolved. Not only was the Illuminati dissolved, all secret societies were dissolved. That would include Freemasonry, Rosicrucianism, in the Illuminati, especially, it was more of a targeted effort against the Illuminati, if anything. The Rosicrucians would still go on to exist. The Freemasons would still go on to exist. But the Illuminati was the one that was basically targeted by this 1785 decree. So, where we leave it, 1785 comes along, and then the years prior, they raid all of the Illuminati's writings, degree work, papers, publishings. There was 2,000, 2,500 members. There, there was really, they got the stuff they needed. Everything else was squashed. As far as what the Illuminati, were they practicing anything different than these other organizations? Not so much. It's just that there was a lot of fear that the Illuminati was going to become political. Obviously, we're talking about the Rosicrucians. Rosicrucians were subservient to the system. The Rosicrucians were very happy with status quo. Freemasons, the reason why Freemasonry has existed as long as it has, there is, if you don't know anything about Freemasonry, there is a separation of, you do not speak about religion, you do not speak about politics. We have no involvement with religion or politics. You have to have a belief in a supreme being. If you have a belief in a supreme being, you can basically show up, as long as you're, duly vetted and you're a good one. You'll basically take you then. Obviously there is a whole process to it, but basically you have to. The overlying thing is you have to have belief in a supreme being. So that's where we get the whole the Freemasons were never saw as a threat. The Rosicrucians were never saw as a threat. The Illuminati, there was aspirations where, judging by the benefactors that they did recruit, the members they did recruit, there was obviously a threat to the monarchy, and even the papacy and the Jesuits. They were basically using Jesuit methods too. I mean, what the Illuminati would have, if they would have continued to exist, where they would have went in what direction. There's been a lot of orders throughout history. There's been a lot of, more than people could fathom. Esoteric societies, secret societies. There's organizations within organizations. I mean, in my opinion, I think the Illuminati would have fizzled out. The Illuminati had prominent members. They were doing things. There was nothing, in my opinion, special about the Illuminati other than who was a member of the Illuminati. So, with that 1785 decree, they were shut down. Everything was seized as far as documentation and everything that I already went over. Long story short, Adam Weishaupt, he goes into exile. He's somebody who lives out his days. Obviously, he wasn't killed and tortured or anything, so he's somebody that continued to going on. As far as with the Illuminati, I don't really, quote me if I'm wrong, but I don't really think there was any actual purging to the point of people being hacked up. Not that I know of. I could be wrong. It's not my strongest area of expertise about the Illuminati, because they only existed for a few years. The infamy of the Illuminati really came the French Revolution. And with the French Revolution, you had the French declarations of man and the French Declaration of Man and of the Citizen, back with the French Revolution. And there was a lot of people who thought that may have been the Illuminati, that there may have been people, members of the Illuminati that still existed. There was publication that went out that it was the Illuminati. Obviously, if you look at the way it was written by, gentlemen who were educated and indoctrinated into Enlightenment philosophy. There's no doubt about that, just as the Declaration of Independence of the United States. I mean, it was a viewpoint at the time. I mean, it's you can never declare, maybe there might have been members part of it. I mean, it's really, like I said, it's a philosophical, it was a viewpoint. Very, very tough to say, was it the Illuminati, was it not the Illuminati, the French. From what I know offhand, that the Illuminati had nothing to do with the French Revolution, but could there have been members who conspired that end? It's possible. Anything is possible. But as a whole, the Illuminati to this day does not exist. There is no secret society that goes on under the name of Illuminati that controls industry. Or the thing is, there's going to be no secret society of any prominence that's going to recruit musicians or actors or politicians or such people, because these people are not people that are initiated into higher thought, higher learning. These are people that they're very much obsessed with the world around them. For the most part. I mean, it's very wrong to say that, as a whole about, people in those industries, but they're material people generally. It's very wrong, like I said again, to generalize people, but let's be real. If you're going to start a secret society, you're going to have a secret society, you're not gonna have members who are a bunch of idiots. And I apologize to anyone. Obviously there's politicians. You know what? Screw it. Let's be real. The reason why the world is declining so much is because we don't have enlightened people running the show. The reason why the world is in such a bad place is because we do not have men and women who are initiated into higher thought. Everyone lives for now. Everyone lives for the moment. They don't give a damn about higher thought, the arts, the sciences, any of sort of philosophical reasoning. It's a shame, really, when you think about it. I mean, we owe so much to the freedom of man to gentlemen such as Adam Weishaupt and people, Lafayette, Jefferson. It's really a shame. I mean, you're not going to recruit a bunch of. I mean, at the time they recruited, nobility and stuff through Masonic teachings and stuff, because the men back then were. It was a different path, as far as people being educated, people, being all that. People back then were much more. It was a different world. And a lot of the nobility was definitely worthy of being there, as far as, viewpoint and whatnot. In this current world, it's almost a joke to think that you're going to have people, bankers. I mean, there's so many conspiracy theories about bankers being in the Illuminati and controlling money and controlling, with symbolism and all. It's like I said, people that are obsessed with the material would never be initiated into such a society if it existed. I'll say that much. If the Illuminati existed, they would never in a million years employ bankers, employ royals, employ actors, musicians, any of the such, unless they were worthy. And the people that are accused of being in such organizations are comically not worthy. That's where we stand. And if there's any of those people who are part of organizations of higher learning, of higher thought, of higher understanding today, I probably should apologize to you, but as a whole, your industry, your professions, and whatnot are full of a bunch of dumbasses. And the use of symbolism that these people use is comical, unrepresentative of anything of any significance or thought. Uh, that's where we're basically at. And as far as people thinking about some sort of lizard people conspiracy, whatnot, it absolutely does not exist. It is the absolute most. I mean, the people that think of this stuff. You people should be the ones producing movies, producing music, because you have twice the imagination and creation level of the people doing it. I mean, some of these theories and whatnot, I mean, it's unbelievable. I commend you people for the absolute brilliance that you should be channeling elsewhere rather than saying such wacky stuff. I mean, it's absolutely absurd. But yeah, that is where we're at. The Illuminati does not exist. It has not existed since 1785. They were obscure. I mean, there was nothing special about them. I mean, Rosicrucianism, if you want to get as a whole, basically was absorbed into Freemasonry. Freemasonry exists today, but Freemasonry as a whole is nothing but a shadow of its former self. It's more of an organization to serve the community through teaching men to become better men. And through basically philanthropic causes. I mean, the biggest nonprofit in the world today is Shriners Hospital. Biggest by far. I mean, you won't see that on any sort of ranking or anything, but that's okay. So I'm gonna wrap this up. Biggest. It's been a long 20 minutes or whatnot. So basically, the reason why I made this video, there's a lot of misinformation. You know, people will they'll look at things that are convenient. People don't want to take out the time to study, to educate themselves, find proper sources of knowledge, proper source, basically proper sources. And when you do that, you get misinformation. Misinformation is a very bad thing. Another bad thing is when people who are ignorant start putting their own interpretations on things, and they might read text that they don't understand or don't quite get, and they put their own spin on what they think it means. And this in itself is not a good thing. I mean, it's unbelievable. It's the year we're in, and people freak out when they see triangles thinking there's part of a secret society out to get them, when the secret society they're speaking of wanted to actually, in fact, liberate them from oppression. It's unbelievable. And not only that, the organization in question existed for not even 10 years, hundreds and hundreds of years prior. That is unbelievable that, the imagination of man just kept them alive and kept them alive. I mean, through infamy. I mean, it's not a good thing. I mean, it's definitely not a good thing. If the Illuminati was in the pages of history, it'd probably be a better thing. Because, to be honest, they really didn't. There was nothing of notoriety that they accomplished. There was no sort of special secret thing that they did or achieved, or there was nothing. They were an organization that lived not even 10 years. And none of their members went on to any sort of, higher calling, higher prominence, nothing. So that's where we leave it. I mean, I'm basically just tell people, do your proper homework, read the right texts, don't go on these online videos, YouTube, this whole internet thing. It's the complete, as far as we're getting in the world, is, as species, as humanity is getting, we're taking steps forward and we're taking steps backwards. And in my opinion, as far as the esoteric teachings and spiritual teachings and stuff, we're taking leaps backwards. And as a whole, that's going to probably send mankind eventually back leaps. It'll happen eventually. I mean, we might make scientific, I wouldn't even call them leaps, I would call them baby steps as a whole. But there's definitely, it's really a shame what's happening to the world. All I can say is just, people, do your homework. I mean, it's as simple as that. I shouldn't even have to make this video. It's horrible, but that's where we're at. All I can say is, you can all right, if you're somebody who's, consider me an insider, since I am part of many organizations that are, of esoteric teaching of all sorts of, consider me an insider. And this is me whispering in your ear what really happened. And what really happened, you need to believe me, because I'm an insider and I know I am right. Everyone else who is telling you about spaceships, shape-shifting aliens is completely wrong. They're delusional, possibly with a hint of schizophrenia, and they should probably be working for 20th Century Fox. Or whatever's politically correct nowadays. But yeah, so in short, that's where we're at. If you like the video, subscribe, and hopefully I can help educate you on the path of knowledge. Because we have to learn, and we have to put out the fire of ignorance. Because it's one hell of a fire. So, tell your friends to learn about the Illuminati from an insider. And make sure to especially tell them the Illuminati doesn't exist and they can stop being afraid of triangles. Bunch of idiots.